Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to my series here on Eman Channel, Unlocking the Confident Muslimah. I'm your host, Khalila Lister, and it's so exciting to be back here with you all again because this space is our space to unapologetically celebrate being a Muslim woman because it's about time, right? Today, we're going to be really talking about the unspoken silences within our communities. It's a deep one because for us women, we need to be addressing courageous conversations and navigating those difficult dialogues. Something that shocked me coming into Islam was the amount of conversations that are not being had. So let's get into it. An example I can think of is really recently, myself and our very own sister here at Eman Channel, none other than Naima B. Robert, along with 4 other incredible women, recently had the honor of touring up and down the country as some of the very first ever hijabi and niqabi women to take to the theatre. It was amazing. But no, we were not performing a Muslim version of Halal, Romeo and Juliet. Thank you very much, but no thank you very much. We were there to show up and create a safe space for Muslim women to come together and have conversations. It wasn't recorded, so women were able to pose their questions anonymously, and we were able to answer them in a really conversational style, right? As sister to sister. But what's happened was beyond my wildest imagination. I wasn't prepared for the questions that were coming in hard and fast. And it really made me realize so many of our beautiful sisters are living in fear, living in silence, and literally living in secret. Having no one to talk to or turn to or use our voices to, or even if we do, it's just falling on deaf ears. Conversations that are seen as culturally unacceptable and taboo across communities because so many women feel shut in a corner. But we know our Prophet ﷺ said there is no shyness in deen. And yet here are sisters afraid to ask a question on Islamic rulings to help them not fall into sin because they're so afraid of judgment. So I really started to see a pattern forming. I was invited in Ramadan to speak at a huge media company headquarters to give a talk on Ramadan. And I heard from many of the Muslim staff members that they would hide eating when they were on their menses due to shame, which stems from cultural normalities. Shame on something that Allah ordered. The only saying of the faithful believers when they are called to Allah, His words, the Quran, and His messenger to judge between them is that they say, we hear and we obey. And such are the successful who will live forever in paradise. Surah An-Nur 24:51. So while we observe the practice of abstaining from eating and drinking when outside, yes, within the confines of our home, there's divine wisdom from Allah regarding His decision not to create fasting as obligatory for women on their menstrual cycle. But there's still this almost grip of shame that keeps many women silent. I was shocked to learn that, to be honest, when I became Muslim. So many women hiding in their rooms, not even coming out for a sip of water. This silence doesn't align with what Islam actually is. And when I dared to address this on social media and create the conversation, as I like to do, I was met again with people telling me not to speak because apparently it made a bad image on Islam in the eyes of non-Muslims. So breeding more silence again. Where does this cycle lead us if we just have to be silent? It's so important to break this silence. When we voice our concerns, we have the power to challenge and transform mindsets. Engaging in conversations for justice, it's not about putting a bad light on the message of Islam because Islam is perfect, but it's the imperfections of people that we need and we seek to address. You know, the fact that racism still exists in Islamic communities, I was absolutely shocked to see colorism, classism, too many isms. So I will forever use my voice to talk about the conversations that other people want to avoid, because sadly, a lot of people still want to avoid these conversations that are really deeply immersed in our communities because of societal structures, historical biases, but never, ever because of Islam. Because the true religion of Allah is so perfect. And I really feel that we shy away from these conversations, and that a lot of people will be like, Khalila, why are you talking about this? Why is this here? Why are we speaking about it as Muslim women on Eman Channel? But we're here to have these uncomfortable conversations, these needed conversations, because if we don't, we're just letting our sisters continue to suffer in silence. So I want you to think about a time in your life where you've ever felt some kind of injustice, where maybe you've been shocked like I was to know that racism exists in Islam, where the Prophet ﷺ said that the black person is not better than the white person, that the white person is not better than the Arab, that none of us are better except by taqwa. And that actually was one of the things that drew me personally to Islam. It was learning that Allah created all of us, every single one of us, just to worship Him. That's what we all need to do. We are all united under that. And yet still these divisions are so apparent. Even in the media world, it's insane. The levels that sisters have to go through in their lives because of the color of their skin. That shouldn't exist, and I am going to talk about it. And I want you to think about what in your life right now you know is not from Islam. And maybe speak to your sister, your cousin, speak to somebody, because you'll find that you're not alone. And it's through using our voices, which you already know I'm so passionate about, but it's through using our voices that we can create change, that we can begin to turn back to the beautiful religion of Islam. Alhamdulillah. Today, I invite you to start those uncomfortable conversations. If it's uncomfortable, it is probably a conversation worth having, my sis. You'll find like-minded people in your corner, and you will find those who are not ready for these conversations. The closed-minded people run away, and that's okay. That's okay. I think what is important is that when we have these conversations where we're addressing issues of oppression or discrimination, we should never be harsh. This is really important, right? In our tone, not forceful, but to speak and use our voices positively so that we can unlock that confident, passionate woman who shines her light as a spokeswoman for truth. Yeah, I'm talking about you, my sis. So as we draw to the end of today's conversation, let's open up to question time. And today's question came in from a sister called Muna, and she says, Khalila, I'm facing extreme Islamophobia in my workplace, and I'm afraid to speak up, but it's really affecting my life. What do you advise? Firstly, I am so sorry that you're going through this. It's horrible to have any form of discrimination at the workplace, but it is sadly not uncommon. I hear this from sisters all the time. So I'm going to share with you some of my best advice, inshallah. The first thing to do is to document everything, dates, times, details of what's happening. Secondly, know your rights. Knowledge is always power, so learn your rights within your work's policies on discrimination and harassment. It's within your rights to feel safe in your workplace and to feel valued as well while you work. Thirdly, seek professional help. As scary as it is, speaking up is so important because it can not only help you to live a better quality of life at work and at home, but it could also help pave the way for other people to not have to go through the same thing. I'm sending you loads of love. And, you know, as Muslim women, we are, especially if we do cover, or again, it can be acts of racism. Unfortunately, we are visible. No, not even unfortunately. Fortunately, we are visible. But no discrimination or bullying is okay. And may Allah aid you and bring you to justice for His sake. Ameen. Never feel silly. None of this is ever okay. So we have come to the end of the show, and may Allah bless you for being here with me. It means so much. If you have any questions or thoughts about today's show, any of your own advice or experiences that you want to share, conversations that you feel need to be had and are just silenced in our ummah for too long, you can send a comment and make sure to tag Eman Channel and Power of Voice Academy. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to also hear what you'd like to hear from me on this show so that we can keep having the conversations that are needed. My message for you today is to keep speaking up for justice. Whether the oppression is done to you or someone else, you can make a difference. Your voice can make a difference. As a Muslim woman, your voice is needed. And I know we're not told that enough. So I'm here to tell it to you. I will see you in the next episode, which is our final in this series. I can't believe we're here already. And I'll be talking about celebrating sisterhood, building a supportive community in our final episode, which is called One Ummah, One Voice. You know, I got to leave you on a good one, right? Inshallah, I will see you next time. And may Allah bless you always. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.